renew, reconnect, live, laugh, in love, connections, dream, getaway experiences. Brave Heart Workshops, unique getaways live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, Restore, Renew, and Reconnected Community, sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from Arizona is my friend Todd Schweich. Welcome, Todd.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I'd love the audience just to know a little bit about who Todd is. He has earned his MBA in marketing from Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management. This embarked him on a journey that took him across multiple industries, and where he became experienced in finance, operations, marketing, social media, branding, event management, and business development as an entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Game Changers. Todd delivers immense value to forward-thinking business owners and companies by helping them secure working capital, develop the right strategic partnerships, and broaden their community outreach. For his many accomplishments, tireless work ethic, and unshakable commitment to excellence, Todd has been recognized as one of Chicago's power players in 2019 in Modern Luxury magazine. He believes that success comes down to building a strong financial foundation, effectively managing relationships, and executing a game plan. His passion is helping companies develop their infrastructure and establish real business credit by shifting the financial burden away from personal funds. He supports his clients' initiatives through well-targeted social media campaigns, exclusive events, and strategic connection. Todd is a man of insight and discernment and has built a vibrant community of like-minded leaders while staying true to his core values of honesty, integrity, accountability, and spirituality. So what an amazing bio, Todd. And I was wondering if you could share with the audience a little bit about your journey through life, of what your life has been like growing up, and then how did you get to this amazing profile of entrepreneurship?
Well, thank you, Jill. You know, I grew up in Chicago, and my mother and father were divorced when I was 10. My mother remarried a couple years later to an executive from IBM. And back in the 70s and 80s, Jill, you know that IBM, the running joke was IBM didn't stand for International Business Machines, it stood for I've been moved. So I grew up in Hyde Park, but then my stepfather, Skip Johnson, who was a forecaster for IBM, was relocated to Waltham, Mass, where we lived in Lexington, Mass, right outside of Boston. That was during my junior high years. And then he was relocated again to White Plains, New York, where we lived in Rye, New York / Greenwich. So I really accredit those relocations. So I wasn't an Army brat, I was an IBM brat, but being exposed to the different cultures and the different cities while I was growing up, I feel confident had an impact on my development.
Mm-hmm. And so from there then, growing up in this environment of business, was your stepfather then the one who influenced you then to want to go into business school, and then how did that play out into your career in life?
Well, that's an interesting question. So after I graduated from a small prep school in Rye, New York called Rye Country Day, Graduating class was approximately 65 to 70 people. I was actually the only minority in that school. And because I was a great athlete, could do the work, and because I was a minority, they gave me a full scholarship. But what happened was, being a football player, sometimes I got injured and I spent time in physical therapy. So I grew a passion towards the physical therapy vertical, and I attended University of Iowa because they had one of the best physical therapy programs in the country. My first 2 years there, I played football for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and so being that I was playing Big Ten football, and being that I was a pre-physical therapy major, that was not the atypical academia for a Big Ten football player. So I was taking, while some of my other teammates were taking PE or basket weaving, I'm taking courses like physics, organic chemistry, biology of the brain. So what happened after my second year, I almost flunked out, because playing Big Ten ball is like a full-time job as well. So after I became unenamored with the physical therapy profession, I knew that I had a job waiting for me with IBM if I graduated with a business degree. So I made that pivot after my second year, and was able to catch up by going to summer school to graduate on time.
Well, someone didn't tell you the secret of how you pass your classes. So this is what I taught my son Todd when he was going off to college. And he said to me, I raised him going to Christian schools when he was a kid growing up. So by the time he was ready to go to college, he says, Mom, I want to go to college and I want to party. And I went, oh, okay, I'm going to send you to school so you can party. So I said, well, if that's part of your mentality, but you also want to learn something and get your degree, I said, then make sure you don't take any classes that start before noon, because you'll never make it to class, and 90% of graduating from college is showing up in life. And so I had told him, make sure. So he did that, and he ended up passing. So I'm assuming by the time you switched your major, you were taking classes that started at noon.
Yeah, noon, or in the evening.
Exactly. So now talk a little bit about, so then you switched your degree and ended up at IBM. So
Correct. Yeah. So first job out of college was with IBM, and that was huge, because back in the 70s and the 80s, IBM was one of three of the top corporate training grounds: HP, IBM, and Xerox. So my first year with IBM was spent down in Sandy Springs, Georgia, going through intensive training, studying everything from accounting principles, business fundamentals, hardware, software, network configuration, corporate etiquette. Jill, they did such a number on me that even today, if you look in my closet, you'll see 15 starched white shirts. And if I want to step out on the wild side, I'll do a powder blue.
what year was that, Todd?
That was I was with IBM from 85 to 88.
Well, I can totally relate to what you're saying, because around, let me think, so in 80, from 82, 90, so in the mid 90s, I ended up selling technology and ended up selling with Toshiba. Then I went to Icon Office Solutions, and then I went with Konica Direct, and I had to do those intensive sales trainings. And I'll never forget, Todd, you being an entrepreneur, I'll never forget when I had to do my boot camp with Konica Minolta for a week. We only slept about 3 hours a day, and we had to do this intensive training. And then we had to be videoed in front of about 7 executives and give our presentations, and then they had to rate us. And I remember when I did mine, and I did not have a great self-esteem back then, and the trainers all said, Jill, of all the trainings we have done, by far, you are one of the most polished salespeople we've ever seen. And I looked at him and said, did I do really bad? And they said, no, we're serious. Like, you're one of the best people we've ever trained. And Todd, I just never believed in myself, even though every sales job I ever went to work for, I was a top producer. I just always wanted more excellence. And it was funny because when they even told me that, I was like, what did I do wrong? But so shifting then, so you're with IBM and you're getting this intensive, unbelievable IT and technology training. And then where did you go from there? Like, so how did you then evolve and get closer to where you're at now? What took
Yeah.
place?
So what happened is that IBM trained me. So while I was working for IBM, I attended Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management, and IBM paid for it as well. Back in those days, 100% tuition reimbursement, whether you got an A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the good old days. But after 3 years, taking into consideration my MBA, taking into consideration the success I had at IBM. Matter of fact, I closed Pete, Marwick, Main, and Mitchell out of Montvale, New Jersey. I closed them out of Chicago for about $2.7 million. So taking all those things into consideration, I became very marketable. And again, IBM, I was selling computer hardware, which is a tangible item. So there's not a lot of money to be made in tangible items. So that's when I made the shift into software. So from 88 to 92, I worked with a company out of Calgary, Alberta, called Keyword Office Technologies, where I ran the Midwest. In 1992, I joined Borland International. At that point in time, Borland was the 7th largest software company in the world. I handled the states. I handled the Great Lakes division of Ohio, Kentucky, and Michigan. And then my last year, 94, 95, I was actually MVP of the company. Although I had 3 states out of 50, Jill, my last 12 months there, I did over 56% of Borland's direct business in the United States. And then in 1995, I was personally recruited by Larry Ellison along with 12 other people to help Oracle start up their reseller channel. Because up until 1995, Oracle did not have a reseller channel. They just had consulting firms that were chasing professional services opportunities. So myself and 12 other people, we were like a task force that would teach these consulting firms / systems integrators how to not only do license transactions, but influence them.
And so,
After,
in working for Oracle, I can say after spending 15 years in technology myself, Todd, you always have either you have a / love-hate relationship with Oracle, because when I in my career, when I transitioned from Toshiba, a small dealership where we sold Toshiba direct, and then I transitioned to Icon. I transitioned because Toshiba decided to do a whole Oracle upgrade to their whole entire system for all their products and their supplies and service. And some idiot at Toshiba decided to flip the switch over July 4th weekend at one time. And it shut all the dealerships around the world down for about 12 months. And so, because it wasn't beta tested correctly. And so what happened was, when you go to order toner and you needed it that day, they were on back order for 3 to 4 months. So people's copiers were completely down with no toner. I put an order in, and it would be 3 months to deliver the order. So after about 9 months of this, I said, I've had enough. So I quit and went to Icon Office Solutions. I was there for about 3 months when I found out they were doing an Oracle conversion. And I was like, Oh my gosh, am I going to do this again? But I kind of did it right. They did it in segmentations. So they did the southeast first, and within 8 months of doing the conversion in the southeast, they lost 50% of their sales force because the conversion was taking so long. But
Wow.
it took about 2 years to do the conversion. So I have a love hate relationship because when Oracle works great and the conversion's great, it's amazing. But
Hmm.
when it's beta testing and they're working out the bugs, it's a nightmare.
Right. Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. So then you left Oracle, and then where did you go?
I Well, that was an interesting segue, Jill. So yeah, you said love hate. So after Oracle, I was done with corporate America. No, it was, you know, it was a grind. Plus, it was very political. So what I did was in late 1900s slash let's say 2000, I carved out a niche for myself because I was in technology. There are a lot of technologies that have actually incubated out of a lot of technology companies that have incubated out of Tel Aviv, Israel. So because I am a hunter and not so much a farmer in business, I started working with very early stage Israeli-based technology companies. So a lot of, like, for example, the four hotbeds of technology in the United States are Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, Boston, and New York. And in those four hotbeds, there is a significant percentage of companies, technology companies that incubated out of Israel. So what I would do is I would catch the companies because of my contacts in Israel. I would catch them before they came to the United States or when they just arrived to the United States to take on a North American identity. And hopefully they would retain me as a hired gun to go out and get their first 20 to 25 customers who were Fortune 1000 customers to give them credibility. And it was a gift being able to get Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies to buy technology that really wasn't proven, but to be able to sell them based on the feature function benefits as well as the VC companies that back them. Like, typically a lot of your corporations, if the technology's unproven, but they see like a Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers back them, or a Sequoia Capital back them, the CIO and the CTO of a Fortune 1000 company is receptive to at least listening and perhaps implementing that technology because they know those two VC companies just are like they take that company through a very intensive vetting process. So that's what I did from 2000 to 2012.
So just as to lighten with the audience who don't understand technology, I have a fun joke for you. As you were speaking, Todd. So I was at a presentation at a company with about 12 executives, and I had my whole technology team with me and my color specialist, and we were doing a presentation for merging. I began selling technology when the very first multifunctional device hit the streets for copy, print, scan, and fax and
Mhm.
software integration. And so I was talking to this company about doing an integration for all their scanning and back end scanning into a software program. So we're talking, and I'm at the table, and as I'm talking, I used the sentence, all the C-level executives. I used the
Mhm.
word C-level executives,
Mhm.
and one of the men in the room was the production manager, and he said, "What is a C-level executive?" And I said, "Oh, you know what I'm talking about." And he goes, "No, I don't." And I thought he was joking with me. So at that point in my career, I realized, Todd, never to have a conversation with acronyms where you think that the audience knows. So as you were speaking and talking about um, um, you were saying CIOs and
Right.
CEOs. Just for the audience, a CIO is a Chief Information Officer. A CEO is a Chief Executive Officer. But I say that to you because it cracked me up thinking that everyone knows what a C-level executive is. And I've learned over the years when I'm speaking to an audience not to assume the audience knows technology terms, because when we're in the technology industry, we know technology terms. So, so
You
just
know, they even have, and they even have a CPO now. It's funny keeping up with corporate America, the Chief People Officer.
ah,
Mm.
yes, Chief People Officer. So now you transition and you're helping out these corporations in business. And where then do you transition into now starting up the business of Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Game Changers?
So after 12 years of um, jumping on planes from the United States to Tel Aviv, and of course, I would always connect in through Paris, actually Paris, going there, and then Zurich, Switzerland, coming back. I just got burnt out, and I decided, you know what? I don't even. I'm working as a hired gun as an independent contractor, but I don't have a brand. So fortunately, Game Changers Corp. I did my research. There was not a company out there with that name, and I decided, okay, let me start this company, which was in 2012. But the one thing that I did, I credit the success to Game Changers Corp. Number one, all the glory goes to God, but I instilled three core values upon inception, and those three core values, which I do not vacillate on or compromise on, are core value number one is bad company corrupts good habits. And what I mean by that is, Jill, we're all sinners, but there are some people out there that do not have good intentions. They're not good partners. They're all about themselves. They're not team players. I call them dark principalities. They just do not have, their motives are not pure. So Game Changers Corp, we don't care how big someone's network is or how big their checkbook is. If we feel as though they are not, let's say, of the light, okay, we will not partner with them nor take them on as a client. Because once you allow a malignancy into your culture, it will metastasize and destroy everything. So in essence, culture is huge. We run a clean locker room. So we're one of those. So if we were a football team, we would probably be the team that, although someone is a star athlete, but an enigma in the locker room, we would probably not take on that player.
Well, I love that principality, and I've lived by that for years, Todd. And the two arenas that I've lived by that is I was a single, never married mom, and so whenever I'd go to work every single day, I'd start the day off in prayer and say, Father God, you know how much money I need to make today to pay my bills. And so as I go out into the marketplace, I would just pray this prayer and ask God, when I speak to my clients, if the products and services I'm offering them today are the best products and solutions for that company, can you help that decision maker know to do business with me today? And if the products and services I'm offering are not the best solution for my client, help me to peacefully go on to the next one, knowing that the choice is best for them and not my pocketbook. And by doing this, I had such peace about me that I've had testimonial after testimonial of executives saying, Jill, I never felt like you were a salesperson. I felt you were part of our company serving our needs versus your needs. So that was number one. And I've always done what's called a needs assessment. and it's always about the client, not me. So that's number
Right.
one for me that I started years and years ago. Well, when I transitioned my business, Braveheart Workshops, this year into looking for leaders to lead their own retreats, I had someone reach out to me asking me if I would do their retreat because they weren't getting the traction. And I jumped on it without praying about it first. And
Mhm.
what happened, I was doing a Zoom call with one of the co leaders. And the co leader in her Zoom call was talking about what she teaches is people how to heal from past lives in reincarnation. And as soon as I heard her speak, I am a strong believer and I don't believe in past lives or
Mhm.
reincarnation. And
Mhm. Yeah.
immediately I felt like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I went to contract with someone who has opposing beliefs than
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
how am I going to promote this retreat if what she does I'm not in agreement with? And so I stepped back, and now when I talk to people, I'll ask them a lot of times, what's your spirituality? And they say to me, why do you want to know that? I said, I just want to know where you're coming from. And I don't tell them exactly why. And if, as they're speaking, I'm not feeling at peace inside of me, I just don't move forward. So, anyway, so going to your next principle, then, you said you have
Yeah.
three.
So the second core value is we're all about game changers. Is really big on infrastructure, foundation, processes. So there are a couple cliches that I use. Today, everybody wants to eat, but no one wants to chew. Or everyone wants to go from A to D without doing B and C. Why? Because they don't know how and they don't care to know how, or they're just too anxious. Okay. I also say you cannot put cake batter in a microwave. And then number four, I say you cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of a shack. So there, so not only do we help companies with their infrastructure, their financial operational infrastructure and foundation, and so, however, sometimes we have a hard time partnering with those organizations because game changers, we practice what we preach. So sometimes, yeah, it's like we really want our partners to have a solid foundation. And sometimes my spirit is vexed when I'm about to partner with a company that in essence doesn't care about their foundation or their infrastructure. And that's either apathy or pride. I can't understand any other reason why someone would not address their foundation, which is fundamental. And then number three is Game Changers Corp is a core value. Number three is stop stepping over a dollar to get to a nickel. Game Changers Corp, we're a relationship company. Where yes, we all have to eat, but you're either a relationship company or a transaction company. You cannot be a hybrid. You cannot be both. Okay. So what I'm saying is, Jill, sometimes the the relationship takes precedence over the transaction because of the benefits on the back end. So a lot of the partners of Game Changers Corp or some of our sponsors, we actually are doing some of the work for free because of the high end relationship, but also because of the opportunity it gives us to on the back end. It's kind of like it's kind of like The Godfather. Okay, I remember in the Godfather when everyone was lined up. And I'm not saying I'm the Godfather. I'm nowhere near it. But where everyone was lined up at the Godfather's daughter's wedding, and they were making requests. And one guy, he came in. I think he was a funeral. He was an undertaker or a mortician, and his daughter was having problems with her husband or her boyfriend, and basically the Godfather said, listen, I don't want anything in return from you. All I want is the relationship and your loyalty. And all these people that were lining up to see him, you know, he was doing it for the relationship. He wasn't saying, well, if I do this, you do that. All he said is, one day I may call on you. And when I call on you, I may never call on you. But at least, let's say 3 years, like for example, when Sonny got shot at the toll booth, he didn't know that he was going to need that mortician. You know, he called him 3 years later saying, hey, I want to call in my favor. So that's kind of the way Game Changers operates, and it's working. It's working.
So for someone hearing this bio of yours and hearing that you now do this Game Changer business with relationship building, can you help to make it smaller for the listening audience who still might not totally understand what Game Changers can do for them or their business? So what is the ideal customer? Of course, it's relationships, but who would seek out your services, and can you break down a little bit of what those services entail?
Okay, great. Thank you, Jill. So Game Changers, we have 5 different silos that fall under the Game Changers corporate umbrella. There's branding, there's marketing, and then there are productions. Well, because of the pandemic, the production silo has kind of been at a halt. Marketing and branding, they're really the only thing that we ask for from the company is that the ideal client for marketing and branding is for someone that has some type of existing content, has a Facebook presence, has a LinkedIn presence, as well as a Twitter presence. At least something. It's a lot easier if that small to medium-sized business has at least some type of foundation. Okay. The 4th silo is real business credit. Real business credit. As a matter of fact, 90%, this is from Experian Business, Jill, 90% of all the companies in the United States do not possess real business credit, nor do they understand it. Matter of fact, if they understood it, they'd have it. Because the biggest misnomer is people think that real business credit is for companies, a business, a brand, a nonprofit, a ministry. They're saying, well, they think it's for companies that need capital. Yes, that's true, but it's really not. Real business credit is a fundamental financial operational methodology for moving money. That's what it is. Where the principals are not the guarantors of anything that's going on within that business. The credit, the guarantor is solely tied to the EIN number and the federal tax ID. And there are and actually next month we'll be having a webinar. We do a webinar once a month, and I work with a lady by the name of Jerry Tolliver from Fly Credit. And the reason why I work with Jerry is like real business credit is like when people join the gym, they're all excited after the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden they don't, they don't show up to the gym for the next year, but they're still paying the membership. So what happened? That kind of happens with real business credit. Well, they'll get compliant, they'll start building trade lines, and then all of a sudden they get distracted, and they don't take it from the cradle all the way to fruition. Fruition meaning where they're getting credit cards or cash advances from Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. So the reason why I work with Jerry Tolliver is because she is about really taking care of the customer and making sure that they advance from the cradle all the way to the part of fruition. And the way she does that is she has online learning academies. So she's put some things in place that again shows me she cares about the clients.
So if you can slow that down a little bit, because again, you understand your business, but for the layperson coming onto the call today and listening in, again with the pandemic, many people have had to restructure their businesses right now. So in my line of work with retreats and looking for leaders, I find a multitude of people who decide to become life coaches today. I can't tell you how many people wake up one morning and say, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be a life coach. So for that person who decides tomorrow morning, I'm going to take my classes, get my certification, and become a life coach. And some of them don't even get certified, but decide they're going to be a life coach.
Right.
So now they decide to do this. Okay. They might have a following. They might start up a Facebook page and have 500 or 600 followers. How then do they build that business with this credit modality that you're talking about? Because they started off with zero credit. They are using their personal funds and I'll give you one really great example. A lady called me in a panic, who was a life coach, had her own business, and she had a good following. And she decided she was going to do a retreat in Florida. And she wanted to do it at this brand new 5-star hotel. So what she does is she decides she's going to contact the hotel. She sees a special online that she doesn't read the fine print. She goes to contract for 50 attendees, with 50 attendees having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Signs a contract. She's now 4 weeks before the retreat, and she's only sold 23 attendees. So she's shy of 25, 27 attendees that she's going to contract with an attrition ratio that's going to cost her about $20,000 out of pocket. She's going to be at a loss at. And she doesn't know what to do and asks me if I have any ideas. So for this person who's taken their personal funds to go and do a retreat, that they have no idea how to do a retreat, and now in the 11th hour they're going to be $20,000 in debt. What do you say to this client, and how do you help them?
So, in a matter of fact, a lot, that is not an uncommon case, because right now during this pandemic, I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but I know restaurants, I know clothing stores where the owner or the principal of those companies was leveraging their personal resources to run their business. Astute business people do not use personal resources to run their business. So, first of all, to kind of backtrack, to answer your first question, you do not need personal credit to establish real business credit, because again, real business credit, the guarantor is the company, not the principal. So the first thing that one does is, Jill, is the company has to be what's called Dun & Bradstreet compliant, okay? And what is Dun & Bradstreet compliant? Typically, an EIN, an active EIN number / federal tax ID number that's 3 years or older. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 3 years or older, but that's what we prefer. Number 2, a real business email address, okay? Not Yahoo, not Gmail, not Hotmail. That is not a real business email address. So for example, my email address is todd@gamechangerscorp.com. In addition to that, a real business location. So if you look up Game Changers Corp is located at 1900 East Gulf Road in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is an office building that's right across from the Woodfield Mall. So if anyone Google Maps it, they will see that Game Changers is in a real business office, not a home office that does not work, or one of the
Or
was it mailbox,
like
etc.
or a PO box.
Yeah, that does not work. So again, let's go back. EIN number, federal tax ID, EIN number active, real business email address, a real business address, physical. In addition to that, a landline that goes into that business address that's listed under, in this case, Game Changers Corp. A real business bank account, and then a Dun & Bradstreet number. Once you have all those things in place, you're now what's called Dun & Bradstreet compliant. And then once you are Dun & Bradstreet compliant, then what you do is you start building trade lines. So you might, this is not a secret. So after matter of fact, I can tell whether someone has real business credit or not. I'll say, what's your landline number? I don't have one. Well, then you don't have real business credit. Or what's your email address? Oh, hardware@yahoo.com. Well, then you don't have real business email. Or I'll say, what is your paydex score? And so instead of a FICO score for personal, paydex score is the business score. Now, once you are compliant, then the first three accounts, you typically go to our Quill, Uline, and Granger, because now you want to start establishing credit. And what you do is, because you're Dun & Bradstreet, those are called Tier 1 accounts. Because you're Dun & Bradstreet compliant, they will give you net 30 terms immediately, just off of that compliance. So then what you do is you order $70 worth of equipment or whatever from each of those three. I think I might have ordered from Uline, like some notebooks for my meetings and a whiteboard and some dry erase markers. I might have ordered from Granger, I might have ordered some laundry detergent, some industrial, for $70. So but you don't have to buy anything absorbent, like just spend $70. Then they invoice you. And then what you do is, after your invoice, you wait approximately 18 to 25 days to pay off that bill in full. And the reason why you do not pay it off immediately is because if you pay off a bill immediately, it will be considered collect on delivery, COD. So you wait 18 to 25 days in order to allow that credit to settle in. However, you do not pay it late. You don't wait past that 30 days, because unlike personal credit, real business credit is almost impossible to restore. Okay. So once you pay off those three invoices, let's say in the 21-day time period, they will then give you a score. Then what we do is we send you like 4 to 5 tier 2 accounts, and you do the same process. Okay. Now, so typically we build approximately 14 trade lines for you over a 6-month period of time. However, after you build tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 trade lines, then Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover will start saying, hey, would you like a real business credit card? Now, this is really important, Jill. A lot of people think they have real business credit all the time. Oh, here's my American Express business credit card, or here's my Chase business credit card, or my Wells Fargo, or my Bank America. And it says business credit card, but guess what? If the person's name is on the card,
it's not
real business credit, because guess who's the guarantor? Them. So that's just a card for, I guess, them knowing where they spent money on business-wise, but it's not business credit.
So it has to have the business name on that card.
And that's it.
Yep.
Not the principals.
Yeah.
So then what will happen is that you know, these now, since these Visa, MasterCard, American Express see that you've got these trade lines, they'll just say, hey, Jill, you know, we'd like to send you an American Express card with your company name on it with a $15,000 cash advance. Typically, if you follow our process, you will have a minimum. Typically, it's like maybe 5 cards, each have a $10,000 cash advance on each of them. Now, just because you have it doesn't mean you use it. Now, with real business credit, the difference between personal credit and real business credit is, with personal credit, the more you use, the less you have. With real business credit, the more you use, the more you get.
So that
Now,
that makes sense to me because I used to be a director of sales at Holiday Inn Expresses in Chicago, and we had to order some products, and
yeah,
I set up a business account with
mm-hmm,
Wayfair,
yeah,
and I still, even though I don't work for Holiday Inn Express, it was in my name, but as a director of sales, but it was with Holiday Inn was the person establishing the credit. But then they
right,
transferred that to myself. And so when I moved to Branson, and my husband and I did a custom build, and I needed to order everything from my house, from toilets to handrails to everything
mm-hmm,
you can imagine. And I contacted my business sales rep at Wayfair. I was extended my business credit discounts. And the nice
mm-hmm,
part about that I saw that helped me is if you find that product anywhere else for less, they'll match the price. And if any item I ordered came in defective, within 24 hours they'd reship a brand new product and just tell me to throw the old thing away because they didn't even want it back. And I can vouch and tell you that Wayfair is probably one of the best companies I ever dealt with business wise. And I could order everything and anything from household goods to office goods to whatever. And so I hear what you're saying because it started off with me opening up a business
mm-hmm,
account.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, and so, and let me share something with you that's huge. Is that real business credit? It's an asset. It's an asset. So, for example, let's say over 2 to 3 years, you built $200,000 in real business credit / cash advance on your cards. First of all, you cannot take real business credit with you because it's attached to that EIN number. Okay. Now, let's say you wanted to sell your company. The minimum that you would have to sell your company for would be $200,000 because when they buy the company, they're buying your real business credit, your
Mm-hmm.
cash advance. So your company, so that is a company asset. Now, let's say you can't find a suitor to buy your company. Okay. What you can do is you can pull all the money out, which is credit. Okay. Not debit. You can pull all that cash off of your cards, pocket the money, dissolve your company, and you owe nobody nothing. And people can't believe it. I mean, and now we don't build companies to dissolve them, but if you've built a company and you can't find a buyer, you can pull that money out that with the credit, dissolve the company, and you owe nobody anything. Matter of
So
fact,
it's almost like you're bankrupting the company then, per se, or no?
yeah, that's exactly. But you're at least that's credit that you've built. That's cash. Like, I mean, you're bankrupting the company. That's exactly what Donald Trump does. Donald Trump has 171 trade lines. I mean, 100. I'm sorry. Donald Trump has 171 EIN numbers / federal tax ID numbers that we know about. 171. And what he does is, if one of those companies is not bearing fruit after he's built the financial operational infrastructure, he'll pull the cash out of the company, and he'll bankrupt it. and that has no impact on him because that's only the EIN number, the guarantee. If the CEO of with Best Buy here, Neiman Marcus just went bankrupt, right? A couple, I think 3 to 5 months ago. I think it was Neiman Marcus. The CEO was not responsible for there was no liability on the CEO of Neiman Marcus going bankrupt.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So in essence, it's free money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But again, now I will say this from an ethical standpoint, Jill. If we see that someone is building the company for the purpose of bankrupting it, we won't do business with them.
It's only if it's a critical need that you do it, but
Correct.
not a way to screw creditors out of money
Correct.
that's due
No,
them.
absolutely, because there have been some people, like for example, I don't have a 401k, I don't have a pension. So if I get in that jam, let's say 7 to 8 years, at least I have an exit. It's an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not my purpose is not to build and destroy. But we had a couple clients, Jill, who actually built real business credit to pull the money out for a down payment on their house. And it's like we won't.
That's unethical. Then you become unethical.
No,
yeah.
right, and we don't care if they have the money to enroll with us or not. We will not do because we care about the industry.
Yeah.
But
So
the fact of the matter is,
Yeah. So transitioning a little bit here, and on the lighter side,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you. So once once all of this craziness ends and people can start to feel more comfortable traveling and doing things, going to workshops, going to retreats, what's a getaway experience that you'd love to do?
I would. I like water. And I would say, a place that I've never been is I've never been to Greece. So I would say if it would either be Greece or a Caribbean island that I have not been to, because I love the sun. That's one of many reasons why I'm in North Scottsdale, but I love the water too.
Well, my business is retreat planning, and so I have 2 places that you will love, and so we'll have to definitely partner together for them.
Okay.
And my chiropractor told me that his favorite place, him and his wife go there every year, is a place in Greece called Oedipus. And there's a resort there, Thermo, Sillas, I think it's called, and it's a wellness resort. And he said when you arrive, every guest at the hotel meets with the medical director to see if there's any medical issues within your body that you'd love healing and addressing. And so while you're there, he puts a protocol together for your lifestyle of wellness for the food plan that you need. So if you're diabetic, if you're celiac, if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, if you have high blood pressure, he puts a food plan together so the whole time you're there for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, you're on this healthy regimen of food. And then you go into the sea, and they have the sea there where the volcanic waters have erupted, and you lay in this volcanic water. In 20 minutes it heals your arthritis.
Wow.
It's amazing. So that's on my bucket list for retreats for 2021. I'd love to do that. And I happen to be Greek myself, and I've never been to Greece, so I would love to do a Greek retreat. And then of all the Caribbean islands I've been to, because my husband worked for a company where every year we were able to go to a 5-star resort with his company. And my favorite place of all times, which I'm planning more retreats, is Aruba. Have you been to Aruba?
No, but my mother and my stepfather, when my mother has been married 3 times, and actually the 3rd time was a charm because she was married for 33 years. But they used to go to Aruba every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But no, I've never been.
You will love Aruba. It's called the Happy Island. and I have found some villas there that are amazing. So we'll definitely plan some Greece and Aruba trips for 2021. My last two questions to you before we sign off. If someone told you had to get rid of all your apps on your cell phone, but you can only keep two, what are your two must-have apps?
I'd say Facebook and Cash App.
Okay.
Cash App.
And what's one fun fact about you? Besides that you were a football player.
One fun fact. One of the things I like to do for fun, and this was actually mentioned in the article in Modern Luxury, is I like to go to the batting cages. Like every Saturday morning, I'll go to the batting cage and drop like $5 to $10 worth of quarters. You know, I've got a bat with the gloves and everything, and just kind of get in my head. I'm a very cerebral person, and that just enables me to get a little exercise, but also get out of my head for like an hour because I'm focusing on the ball coming at me like 80. I typically am the cage that whether it's between 85 and 90 miles an hour. So you've got to be alert. Mm-hmm.
Well, so the audience knows how to reach out to Todd and just connect with him. I'm going to place his bio now on the screen that you can see. And I'll also have this on the YouTube video so that you can find Todd on his Facebook page and his LinkedIn page. So just a way for you to connect with him. And what I'd like to do is, in closing here, is just to let the audience know that Braveheart Workshops loves defined leaders just like Todd. And so if you're interested in being on the Connection Show, please go to the website, braveheartworkshops.com, fill out the contact sheet, and I'll get a hold of you so that we can schedule a time that works for both of us. For the audience, you're so valuable to the Connection Show that we've decided in the last couple of weeks to start Zoom Connection Gathering Tribes. We meet every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, and 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We do all kinds of things on the Zoom Connection, from improv to game shows to interesting topics. Last week we did a topic on what our cognitive distortions are in life right now, because many of us have distortions of what's going on in our own personal life. So it's a really great group, and we hope that you'll join us on Wednesday nights. The great part is some of our leaders who I've interviewed jump on from time to time. So if Todd's ever available on a Wednesday night, you may find him on the show and connect with them as well. So that's kind of an update with what the Connection Show's doing. And Todd, we at the Connection Show are so grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to connect with the audience. So thanks so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much. So everyone, you have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday nights. Thanks so much. Bye now. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life and community. To enhance connection, join us in the Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe on Wednesday evenings. The Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe is an easy and practical way for everyone to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed and accepted. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Then click on the podcast tab and the Zoom Connection Tribe tab. On that page, go to the Facebook page called The Connection Show Gathering Tribe and register to join our Facebook group. We post secure passwords each week in the group so you can log in safely. We meet on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1.5 hours with great topics, laughter, and connection. See you on Wednesday evenings. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.